officially time. Even though my watch says it's officially time. Now it's officially time. Good evening. Welcome to the City of Sugar Land City Council meeting. A little bit about our agenda tonight. Stuart's been teasing me about that because I begin every meeting like that. We're going to go through in a minute. We're going to do the invocation, and that's going to be done by Councilmember Jennifer Lane, and Jennifer's going to join me down here. And then we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance, and the Pledge of Allegiance is going to be done by our MIAC class, and I'm going to ask them to come down front, the entire class, and then you'll lead us in a pledge to the nation's flag and a pledge to the Texas flag. And then we'll go to three special recognitions. One, our first up is National EMS Week. Our Fire Chief, Doug Boker, is going to introduce that. And then we're going to have the MIAC class come down, and Jennifer Williams is going to introduce that for us. And then we're going to have recognition of National Police Week. And then we'll get on to the regular agenda, and everybody else can probably go to the house and go get something to eat. Jennifer, you ready?
Please stand and pray with me. Dear Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for this rain. Rain is a wonderful thing, just not too much. Thank you for all of the youth that is here with us tonight. May they be inspired with their public service to be future leaders. Light that fire in their hearts to be the next leaders of our city and our community. Lord, I ask you to cast a shield of protection over our frontline workers as we celebrate first responders tonight. Protect them, keep them from harm as they do their jobs, working on the front lines, serving our community. Please protect our city council. Guide us with your wisdom and right judgment to make the best decisions to move the city of Sugar Land forward. Amen. Okay, and now if the MIAC group would come up, and we are going to say the pledge. And we have our class chair, Andrew John, our vice chair, Lena Gavin, Secretary Kashish Lal Muhammad. Okay. And we're going to turn and face the flag, the American flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. We're going to get y'all back up just about the time y'all sit down. And now I'm going to call up Chief Boker, and he's going to recognize our National EMS Week. Doug?
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Mr. Goodrum. I'm joined by Ladder 4, Engine 6, and Medic 4 as we're here to talk about National Emergency Medical Services Week. Why don't y'all come on down? So I don't want to really talk. So Gerald Ford thought it was a good idea to recognize EMS nationally. And I just want to talk about locally, the strides that we've made since 2015 when this council decided to put their money where their mouth was and invest in EMS, and the strides that we've made in EMS. We've taken 30-year paramedics like Lieutenant Wells there and worked with him to bring back paramedic skills that he forgot before most of these guys got hired. And we've added new people like Fan is one of our newer employees. And what we hold them to is the same level of accountability. And so the service that's being provided in the field is just phenomenal. The service that these responders put forward to care for our community is first rate. The support that council has always given in making sure that we're on the leading edge of technology is first rate, and the sports community gives us to make sure it all comes together. So I'm excited. This year we added ultrasound, and we've added some new CPR machines, along with radically aggressive medical direction is what I'm calling it, as we changed medical direction. Next year we're excited about adding artificial intelligence into our QA program, which will put our manpower back on the streets as we add diagnostic tools to our operation, and just an assortment of different things that heighten that service to the community, which will culminate as we push full paramedic level care onto the fire trucks next year, which will make all of our fleet paramedic responders. It's a force multiplier and really enhances the care to the community. All of that is done because these guys are really good at their job.
Thank you, Doug. We have a proclamation for Emergency Medical Services Week, May 21st through the 27th of 2023. Whereas our emergency medical service represents an essential city service that contributes to the safety and security of our community and is always ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And whereas the Sugar Land Fire EMS Department employs more than 130 highly qualified emergency medical responders that staff 5 ambulances, 7 fire apparatus, and 2 supervisory units that respond to and manage an average of 21 medical incidents per day. Whereas we anticipate these personnel will answer some 150 calls for medical assistance ranging in severity from minor cuts and sprains to cardiac arrest requiring CPR and life-threatening injuries during this EMS week alone. And whereas our enthusiastic and professional EMS team provides where they routinely sharpen their skills, maintain their competencies, and stand ready to answer all calls for assistance in the city of Sugar Land this EMS week and each week of the year, and where it is appropriate to recognize the value and the accomplishments of emergency medical services providers, designating Emergency Medical Services Week. Thank you all, the men and women that spend your time to make sure that we're safe. And yes, back in 21, I had a medical emergency, and I called you guys, and you guys responded. I didn't know that you might actually show up, but I can't say enough about the service that you all provide. I've experienced that personally. I think there are probably others in the room that have too. So we thank you for your service and your dedication to the citizens of Sugar Land. Thank you all very much. Council, if I could get y'all to come this way. Council's going to come down. Mike, Meredith. We're big about pictures. And now we've got a special recognition, and I say special because Jennifer and I had a chance to participate with this class, our Mayor's Youth Advisory Council this year. And I'm here to tell you that as individuals, they're incredibly bright. They had 2 class projects. One was how to get a better participation in our online billing process. and the second was the safety of our workers that are out there that might be at risk from some, how should I say, some of our drivers that haven't learned how to drive yet. And in both cases, I received those presentations yesterday, and I can tell you these young men and women are brighter than bright. So it's my pleasure now to ask Jennifer to come up, and we're going to recognize not only the class, we're going to get a picture with all the council. And I just want to say again, thank you all for participating in MIAC, and I wish you all the best in your careers. Hopefully you'll come back. You've heard it before. Mayor, councils, boards, and commissions. We need you back here in Sugar Land. Jennifer.
Thank you, Mayor. It was my honor to get to lead the 18th class of MIAC students this year. I have 32 students from 9 different high schools across the school district in Sugar Land. And they had some really great staff experiences with different departments throughout the city. And I actually have one student that has taken a bite of the emergency management apple. So she's very excited about the potential of getting to continue that effort throughout the summer. So I could not be more proud of each and every one of you, and I'm excited for the leadership that is coming in the future. So congratulations to you all. Now, if you will all come forward and we can take a picture.
So I had a chance to answer questions from them each week when they'd come in for their class. And I can tell you, some of the questions weren't so easy to answer. Our next recognition is National Police Week. And I'm going to ask Chief Poland to come down, Assistant Chief Davis, Chief Allen, Captain Lara, Captain Zettelmeyer, Captain White, and Captain Thompson. And then I think we've got some lieutenants in the bunch, too. We got one. Just a few brief words for our police, and actually applies to our fire. These men and women, when they take the oath of office, they take the oath of office that they're willing to give their lives for people that they will not know. That's an extraordinary commitment. It's only done in police, fire, EMS, and in our military. So when it comes around to National Police Week, it really is a special time to recognize them and their commitment to our community. At this time, I'm going to ask Chief Poland to say a few words.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for the support. You know, National Police Week, it really is, 27 years in law enforcement, it really is just a moment to remind ourselves and the community just how dangerous this job actually is. Last year alone in the state of Texas, there were over 30-some officers that lost their lives just in Texas. In the United States, there was over 118 that lost their lives serving. And as the mayor said, I concur, serving citizens and that servant leadership mentality for folks that you don't know. But I can tell you, we got an amazing team here. We work hard to protect this city and keep everybody safe. We're committed to doing it. We couldn't do it without your support, sir, and the support from the council, and it means the world to us. I know that, and the support from the community. So thank you very much.
Thank you all. We're National Police Week, May 14th through the 20th. Whereas in 1962, President Kennedy proclaimed May 15th as National Peace Officers Memorial Day, and the calendar week in which May 15th falls as National Police Week. Established by a joint resolution of the Congress in 1962, National Police Week pays special recognition to those law enforcement officers who have lost their lives in the line of duty for the safety and protection of others. And whereas the members of the Sugar Land Police Department play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of our citizens in Sugar Land, and whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the problems, duties, and responsibilities of their police department, and that members of the police department recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life and property, protecting people against violence or disorder, and protecting the innocent against deception, oppression, or intimidation. Whereas the Sugar Land Police Department has grown to be a modern and scientific law enforcement agency that increasingly provides this essential public service. Congratulations to you and the other members of our police department. Council members, if you come down, please. Michelle, if you guys would step up. You guys come up. To address your concerns or support for that particular agenda item. Anybody? We're going to move on to item number 3, consent agenda. Consent agenda is going to be taken as one motion for all the items, unless a council member wants to pull one of those items, at which time we'll have a brief presentation and take action on only that item. Council members, are you good with the consent? Motion to approve. Got a motion by McCutcheon. Do I have a second? Second. Got a second by Kermally. Any questions? Vote this time, please. And it passes 7-0. Thank you. Item number 4, contracts and agreements. 4A, I'm going to recuse myself, and I'm going to turn the agenda over to the Mayor Pro Tem, Mr. Jacobson. He'll introduce the item once I'm out of the room.
Item number 4A, consideration of and action on authorization of an agreement with CenterPoint Energy in the amount of $98,531 for the replacement of 21 streetlights on Settlers Way Boulevard. We have Herc Meyer, Assistant Director of Public Works. Herc?
Oh, there we go. Good evening, council. How are y'all? I'm here tonight to ask for an approval of agreement with CenterPoint Energy, like you stated, for the replacement of 21 streetlights on Settlers Way Boulevard. We're going to provide you with an update as far as what we've completed to date throughout this progress that has been in plan for about 10 years, that has had improvements throughout that time, and where we plan to continue to go. So we roughly have a little over 12,470 streetlights in Sugar Land within the city limits that are owned by CenterPoint. There's roughly 254 streetlights that are owned by the city. We see these placed along highways and over certain bridges in Sugar Land that the city owns the actual streetlight. And then a little over 1,000 streetlights that are privately owned within the city right away. And these are owned by HOAs that own these streetlights. The standard streetlight for Sugar Land is typically a 30-foot galvanized tall pole with a fixed Cobra headlight on it. It's a pretty traditional light. I'll have a picture of that in a moment. Our Public Works Department, we go out quarterly and do streetlight inspections to ensure that all 12,000 plus streetlights are working. If they are not working, we submit a request to CenterPoint to have them repaired so that they are working for our citizens, for our safety and everything else. So on the left, you see a traditional 30-foot Cobra head light, and there's roughly about 12,000 of those lights are a traditional light. We have about 470 that are the 12-foot Traditionaire light within our right-of-way. So one of the problems that was identified many years ago is with our Tree City designation that we have and our beautiful trees in Sugar Land is we do have a lot of our streets are lined with very mature trees now, that the tree canopy is very tall. And as you can see by both these pictures, the picture on the right is Lexington Boulevard, but is when a 30-foot Cobra headlight is within that tree canopy, it does not allow illumination to the ground. We identified corridors back in 2011 that were completely covered by the tree canopy. This came about from resident complaints and our streetlight inspections. All these trees where the Cobra heads were in the tree height or tree canopy, the trees were within city compliance with city ordinance as far as a 14-foot tree height clearance on major thoroughfares. When the streetlights are in the tree canopy, there's also a problem with CenterPoint not being able to properly maintain and repair their light fixtures in a timely manner that we like to see. In 2013, and like I said, we conducted an assessment and we prioritized our streetlight repairs based off of a candle foot assessment as far as the lowest illumination level of candle foot at ground. So we started all the way in 2014 or FY14 with Edgewater. We've completed all these here, and I actually have a map to show the areas that we've completed. But if you focus, we've completed the majority of this all the way down to the bottom. Last year we completed part of Lexington to south of Edgewater. I'm sorry, Settlers Way from Lexington to south of Edgewater by about 2 lights. And we're asking for this agreement for FY23 to convert streetlights on Settlers Way from Edgewater, just south of Edgewater, to Flintwood Drive, which is just south of Highway 6. You can see here where a 12-foot Traditionaire light has been converted underneath the tree canopy and the amount of illumination that is there on that thoroughfare. So here's a map that we have completed from this. Highlighted in green on the street light or on the map is what we have completed. Current ask is in yellow on Settlers Way Boulevard. And then we do have another remaining segment of Settlers Way that we're plan to complete in future FYs. Moving forward, once we complete this, we will continue reassessing the thoroughfares as far as if there's any other areas that we need to convert our streetlights. So staff is recommends the approval agreement with CenterPoint Energy in the amount of $98,531 for the replacement of 21 streetlights on Settlers Way Boulevard.
Thank you, Herc. Anyone have any questions? It seems hard to believe that we could make District 3 even more beautiful than it already is. But because it is, I'm going to go ahead and move to approve. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please vote. Don't let the fact that it's in District 3 cloud your vote. And it passes 6-0. Thanks, Herc.
Thank you all.
Somebody please ask the mayor if you'd like to join us.
Mayor Pro Tem, I'm going to recuse myself for the next item.
Oh, okay.
Let's move on now to item number 4B, consideration of an action on authorization of a contract with Stantec Consulting Services in the amount of $109,560 to complete a planning and economic feasibility study for the Track 5 Catalyst site, and authorization of an amendment to the tax increment reinvestment zone number 4 fiscal year 2023 budget in the amount of $109,560. We've got Ms. Jessica Hubble, our Senior Development Manager. Jess.
Good evening, everybody. Okay, so tonight I'll be providing an overview of the contract that staff is recommending for approval this evening with Stantec Consulting Services. Stantec is a top 10 global design firm with multidisciplinary teams, and they are one of the largest architecture and planning firms in the United States. Their mission is to design with communities in mind and really research and analyze the land use and growth patterns and understand what the residents and the community does so they can better meet the needs of that specific community. And just so y'all are aware, Mark Maldonado, the senior principal, is on the call this evening, and so he'll be available for questions at the end. So staff is recommending to do an economic and urban design study for the Track 5 area, which, as you know, is the area around the Smart Financial Center. The area is approximately 83 acres. It's going to include the 50 acres just south of where the Smart Financial Center is that you see in light blue. The light pink area, which is about 25 acres owned by the city of Sugar Land, that's the current parking lot that is used at Smart Financial Center. And then the 8 acres showed on the top right, that's along the feeder and the ditch, which is still owned by Newland. The dark pink that you see there is owned by MD Anderson. So while they have their own plans and regulations to follow, we have had conversations with them about the desire to do this study and have committed to keep them informed and involved in the outcome if approved. And so with the recent ownership changes that occurred within the Track 5 area over the years, staff thought it was just necessary to get with a third-party consultant and just take another look at this site and look at the kind of the new vision and what the site's calling for now. The market's drastically changed past, after COVID. And so what's appropriate in this area for development, looking at what we know we need, like structured parking and more ingress and egress, but how do we kind of vision that out together? And so by using the data with the comp plan and the land use plan, some previous market and feasibility studies, this study would focus more on a vision-specific and market-supportable development concept for the study area, and it would bring in community and stakeholder engagement. So some key elements of this study would be to identify the priorities and opportunities to encourage appropriate development and improve the underutilized areas, and also activate the civic assets to their highest and best use. It would identify best practices to continue to make Track 5 livable, walkable, a thriving destination. It would drive investment opportunities to Track 5 and maximize the return on public and private investment, and then integrate and synchronize the aesthetics and amenities of both public and private investments. There's a lot of different ownerships in this area, so we really want to strive to make it look cohesive and like it all fits together and it's all meant to be there. And so I want to point out some of the services that'll be provided. So first and foremost, it'd be a location-specific market context analysis. So this will allow us to better understand the performance of development types. This analysis will yield a more accurate estimate of rents, which is the key metric for the value side of a pro forma. So the factors considered will be industry trends among similar and major use groups, activities and undertakings in competitive markets, the capacity of the study area to accommodate a financially sound critical mass, impacts from proposed and existing generators like SMART, and we know MD Anderson's coming, so it'll factor in things like that, and the community's potential to successfully position itself for investment. Part of this, Stantec would be interviewing developers in the area and getting real input as to what we're seeing out there so we can better position ourselves. They would look at redevelopment concepts. So it would be divided into 5 zones, and each zone would be analyzed for its financial feasibility from a private sector developer's perspective. And so this would be accompanied with land use and product mix, image and theme, target market, supporting infrastructure, and all these concepts would be vetted by city staff to confirm that it aligns with the community intentions, and we could ask for edits or ask them to relook at anything if needed. And then deliverables that we would get from this are plan view renderings, perspective visualizations, financial gap analysis, and fiscal impact analysis. When we do things like this, we find it really important to have the visuals, like what it could actually look like out here. So these deliverables will be really important for us to have, especially when we're working with the residents and other stakeholders. And then the financial analysis, the financial tools are, one of the most important aspects. The research will provide the basis for analyzing the proposed development types from a financial perspective, provide that high-level pro forma modeling to estimate how the proposed developments are going to pencil out from a financial perspective, and then yield an estimated financial gap. So that would be an estimate of the public sector support required. As you know, we have a TERS in this area, so we have funding available as long as it's aligned with the project plan, and then of course 4A and 4B funds. So again, it would just better position us to understand where we might have to come in and support the type of development that we would want to see. And so with the deliverables, we would get a summary of the findings and then a financial gap pro forma for each 5 zones. And then a fiscal impact analysis. So this would add to the estimate of the financial impact of the new development. Again, we have a TERS over this area, so it would better help us understand what those projected revenues would be for our city. And then would also look at costs associated with the municipal services that would be in this new development. And then we would get, obviously, the deliverables from that as well. So if approved, this would take about 10 to 12 weeks. Here's just kind of a high-level overview of what it would look like. We would kick it off ground running next week with key stakeholder and landowner meeting, and that would include Denani Private Equity Group, and TI, Smart Financial Center, and then Newland. So all the landowners within the site, and then key partners like U of H, who are right across the street they're very much a part of this development. And then week 3, we would take those findings and those conversations and deliver it to a resident focus group. And this would consist of around 6 to 8 residents and business owners. And this would be where we would have Stantec come in and do an in-person meeting, so they could really have some great dialogue with our residents and our community to see, how they're feeling about it, what they see here for the future, and really dig into that feedback. And then week 8, we would get a presentation of the final product to the city and be able to, make any edits or ask questions as needed. We would then present that back to the resident focus group in hopes that they would be happy with the outcome and just be able to have further dialogue about it, and then wrap up between week 10 and 12. So a pretty quick turnaround overall. And so here's a look at the fee breakdown. It's around $99,600. We would come away with all the deliverables that I spoke of earlier for us to use in our future plannings. And then part of the motion tonight is approval of the TERS 4 budget amendment. So you'll see here the total cost is $109,560. So that's the contract cost of $99,600 times 10% for incurred costs, like costs of travel, printing, things like that. And so you'll see we're requesting to pull it from the ending fund balance, moving to supporting services, and then we're still left with a hefty fund balance of $7.3 million in TERS 4. And, sorry about that. What we've done so far, April 17th, we took it to the TERS 4, had a special meeting, recommended for approval. We're here with you tonight, and then if approved, we would kick off the stakeholder kickoff meeting next week, which will be led by Stantec. And with that, staff recommends consideration of an action on authorization on a contract with Stantec Consulting Services in the amount of $109,560 to complete a planning and economic feasibility study for the Track 5 Catalyst site, and authorization of an amendment to the tax increment reinvestment zone number 4 fiscal year 2023 budget in the amount of $109,560. And with that, I'll open it up for questions. And as a reminder, Mark Maldonado should be on the phone as well.
Questions? Ms. Stewart?
Thank you, Mayor. Jessica, so we're involved in an exercise right now about multi-use zoning. And we're talking about overlaying multi-use zoning on Tract 5. Does this duplicate or does it take away from? Is there any kind of issue with doing both of these exercises at the same time?
No, I don't think so, sir. I mean, this is not a guiding or policy document in any way. It's more of an exercise for us to see where we are in this area, because what was envisioned before, in the early 2000s is just no longer relevant. So, however that site would move through, whether it was PD or another zoning, this, in our opinion, is more of just supporting documentation of what the market's calling for, what would be a good use, how can the site work together. Currently, there is a PD over this site and also a development agreement that does call for this to be a cohesive build out of this area. So the deliverables from this would help us see what that looks like, how that would actually look like with the market and what it's calling for. So
Okay,
I think
thank
they would
you.
just support each other,
Yeah,
to answer
thanks.
your question.
Suzanne?
Thank you. Jessica, did we not do a best use plan for this site already?
A what plan?
A best use plan?
We have the land use plan, and then before the city council retreat, there was some work that Stantec did on certain catalyst sites within the city, and that plan was kind of all lumped together in those sites. So they would use some of that research that was pulled from that, but this is looking at it in much deeper and diving much deeper just in this specific area.
Okay, follow up, please.
Follow up?
I like that you're doing a lot of, you've got a lot of people involved, the stakeholders, the public. What are we going to do with all this information? Are we going to be aggressively marketing it? Are we just going to hold on to it until we get someone to really do the plan? Or how much can we move off of it? I mean, we've got all these grandiose ideas. We're putting it out there. What are we going to do with it?
Well, I mean, I think it's twofold. I think it's important that the landowners on this site, that we all work together. It's in all of our best interest for this site to build out the way that it's, for its highest and best use. We as a city own 25 acres, so we still have the authority to do what we need to do with our site and see what makes sense for us in that angle. So I think it's important for us as a city, based on the land we own. I think it's important for the overall development that we really approach this with a holistic look to ensure the success of it, with the U of H involved too, and their potential growth in the future. But I don't think the intention would be for it to sit on a shelf in my world. All this information should be really fruitful, that we should be able to take out into the market, and things change. What if there's new landowners that come into the mix? And so to us, it's a tool. It's a tool that's going to leave us better equipped to have conversations when it comes to financial impact that we need to bring to the table, or what we want to see, and how you guys choose to use this tool after we present what comes from it is also up to you guys as well. So, yes, ma'am.
Carol?
If someone were to be interested in potentially serving on the resident focus group, is there a way that anybody can express interest, or have you already picked the people, or how does that work?
We have not picked, no ma'am. We've kind of identified some people that we think would be interested or that have shown interest in these topics. So, but if you have any recommendations or somebody is very passionate about wanting to be involved, I would love for you to direct them to our team. Yes, ma'am.
Suzanne, one of the questions you asked, as you know, somebody owns that property right now. And that property there was a PD, plan development, that was approved, but that was a PD that was developed by Fluor. And we've consistently, I think, with this developer, staff in our planning department, the question keeps coming back, well, what does the city want to see? In order to help provide a little bit of definition, because he's never developed a site like this. And we know that MD Anderson's coming. We know they're going to build somewhere around 500,000 square feet. We know this is going to be a high impact site. The market study, I think, will serve to provide some direction to not only the developer, it will help staff understand what the potential is before it comes to council. And we have some of the discussions that we've had before, which, it serves to provide, micro level detail about what the market would support. And then the individuals that we have, Mike and his team came up with, for lack of a better word, a task force of residents that would provide input as to what we'd share that with them, so that we don't have some of the resistance from pure misinformation that keeps getting passed around on social media and with the public. And this would serve to inform not only the developer, but the public.
Yeah, and that's why I think the resident focus group at week 3, 4-ish, like they're going to be given the the raw data, what it's saying, and be able to ask questions and understand why. And and I think that's going to be a very valuable tool, so they feel a part of it and they understand why decisions are being made or why a certain path might be being taken. So, and then we'll take it back to them once it gets finalized to show them, so they understand where it ended, so they don't feel out of the loop.
William.
This is my committee that I sit on, and I am so excited about this because of, and you hit on it a moment ago, to all those folks that are on social media that, they just want to create the monster. Guys, this is a great opportunity. We have such a precious small amount of undeveloped land in this city, and this right here is a great example of how we move forward carefully, wisely, maturely to utilize that precious land that's still outstanding. So great work on this. And this is the second time I've heard it, and I'm very excited. I don't want to get too excited. The mayor will run me off.
Motion to approve. Any other discussion? Vote at this time, please. And it passes 6-0 with one abstain.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Jess. Item number 5, ordinances and resolutions. 5A, consideration of an action on City of Sugar Land Resolution number 2316, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Sugar Land, Texas, authorizing the opening of securities accounts with Great Pacific Securities, the continuance of securities accounts with Raymond James and Associates, Rice Financial Products, Multibank Securities, Inc., Hilltop Securities, Inc., and Mishler Financial Group, and the continuance of an account with Wells Fargo Brokerage Services for brokered certificates of deposit. We have with us Rosita Bashoon, our finance manager. Rosita.
Thank you, Mayor. So our city investment policy is, our city investments are governed by the PFIA, which is the Public Funds Investment Act. The act requires annual approval of broker-dealers authorized to conduct investment transactions. Our city investment policy requires solicitation from qualified brokers every 2 years. 7 broker-dealers responded by the RFQ's published deadline. The top 6 rated broker-dealers were selected, and the recommendation was shared with Council Finance and Audit Committee on May 4th. Staff recommends the approval of Resolution number 23-16, authorizing the following broker-dealers for investment transactions: Raymond James and Associate, Rice Financial Products, Multibank Security, Hilltop Security, Mitchell Financial Group, and Great Pacific Securities. In addition, Wells Fargo, being our current bank, will continue to be the source for the purchase of CDs. Are there any questions?
Any questions or a motion, please? Got a motion by Watley, second by McCutcheon. You vote at this time, please. And it passes 7-0. Thank you, council members. Item number 6, public hearings. 6A, public hearing. Receive and hear all persons desiring to be heard on a request from the First Colony Community Services Association to drill a groundwater well to replace the existing well number 593. I'll go ahead and read the consideration and action. Consideration and action on a request from First Colony Community Services Association to drill a groundwater well to replace the existing well number 593. We have Merritt Nolte Roth, our Water Resources Manager. Merritt.
Thank you, Mayor.
Get all tongue-tied there.
So this will be a pretty short presentation, but just to go over the agenda, we're going to review the process for well approval, just go over a little bit of background on the Sugar Land groundwater reduction plan, and the specific permit request from FCCSA. So there is a city ordinance that prohibits the drilling of wells in the city of Sugar Land city limits. However, there is a exception whenever there are not other sources of feasible water sources, and to do that, you need to get city council approval. As part of the water well drilling permit application, you need to get approval from Fort Bend Science District. You also need to include information on the location of the well, its size, its pump capacity, what it's going to be used for, and a copy of the construction plans. Just to go over the Sugar Land groundwater reduction plan, the GRP outlines our plan strategies for meeting the Fort Bend Science District groundwater conversion requirements. The city is the administrator of the GRP. We have 18 participants, totaling 77 wells, and we pump an average of 5.9 billion gallons per year for the GRP. All of our participants pay into the utility fund through the groundwater pumpage fee, and it helps to cost the cover of the GRP. First Colony Community Services Association is one of our GRP members. They own 8 wells, and they're all used for either irrigation or amenity lake management. Well number 593 provides well water to fill the amenity lake that's adjacent to the Austin Park Courtyard Homes subdivision. The new well will be number 3455 as assigned by Fort Bend Science District. Its 5-year production average is 1.4 million gallons per year. The well failed back in summer 2022, and they tried to repair it, but they couldn't fix it, and so they're looking to re-drill that same well. So just to recap, FCCSA submitted an application to drill the failed well 593. Staff have reviewed that application, and we know that, just to note, this is just a replacement of an existing well, re-drilling the same well, the same size. There's not other feasible water sources at this time for that well, and it's already been approved by Fort Bend Science District. It's not going to increase FCCSA's aggregated groundwater use, and it's not going to adversely impact the GRP. So with that, staff recommends City Council authorize the approval of the water well drilling permit submitted by First Colony Community Services Association.
Thank you, Barrett. Questions? Shaw?
Just because I don't know, but when they do drill, will the residents be affected at all during that? Is there a downtime period for the residents?
No, I don't believe so, because it just fills the amenity lake. It shouldn't impact.
Surely just reworking the well, the existing well. Sounds like what they're doing. William?
Only because I don't know. This isn't going to be a volume increase of water. It's not going to be a factor for subsidence. This is all good based on everything I've looked at prior to your presentation. We're all good. It's just going back to what the mayor said.
Yeah,
Okay.
They should just be using the same amount that they normally do.
Okay.
At this time, we're going to go ahead and open the public hearing. And we're going to ask that anybody that would like to speak on this particular item would come forward, please. Anyone? Second call. We'll close the public hearing and we'll move on to consideration and action. I'll make the motion to approve. Do I have a second? Second. Got a second by McCutcheon. You'll vote at this time, please. And it passes 7-0. Thank you, council members. Item number 7, workshop. 7A, review of and discussion on the methods, process, and timeline for redistricting single-member council districts. We have with us tonight our city attorney, Meredith Reedy. Meredith.
Hi, Mayor, Council. How are y'all? We are here tonight, as the mayor said, to talk about the redistricting process. As you may recall, back in 2020, we had a census, and it came out and said the city districts are not completely equal. It's actually a pretty interesting process. So the steps in the redistricting process is you start out with an assessment, you get the results of the assessment, you get a committee together, and they draw the districts. You think about the districts, you have a public hearing, and then you adopt it, you submit it to the county, and then you get to hold your election. So we've already had this assessment. It was part of the contract we had with the law firm who did the 2018 redistricting as a result of the annexation of new territory and Greatwood. It was built in because we tried to get as close as possible. They had all the data. We said it's going to be really soon. Go ahead and give us those numbers. So the law firm has gone through and has given us a current status. I have the report here. If anybody needs to fall asleep tonight, I'd be happy to share it with you. But basically what the results are is that we have a deviation of 22.62% among the districts. And you determine the deviation by taking the smallest district percentage and the largest district percentage, adding them together. And so because I received an email today, I'm sure you're curious just to know how many constituents you are each representing. District 1, you only have 25,046 residents. You're at negative 9.75% deviation. District 2 is overwhelmed at 31,322. You're at 12.87 positive deviation. District 3, you're right on the money almost at 27,779, negative 7.1% deviation. District 4, 28,855. Your perfect ideal district in a perfect world would be 27,751. It's pretty much determined by taking the total number of population, dividing it by 4. Supreme Court has consistently held that an acceptable standard deviation of 10% between your largest and smallest district is acceptable and will allow you to meet the requirements of the Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, which is the one man, one vote standard. So now that we have gone ahead and had our assessment, what are your next steps? Your next steps is to select a committee. We're going to have a timeline for adoption. You're going to adopt 3 resolutions. And then you're going to have, we've hired the outside consultant. We've already entered into a contract with this law firm because they did the 2018. They already have our data, and it was substantially cheaper to use somebody who already has the data in the system. This law firm has historically done this for the city, and if those of you who have not participated in the redistricting process, it's kind of fascinating to watch. They have this wonderful little computer program. They put a district map of the city up, and they have the districts, and they have the voting precincts, and the committee members say, okay, if I move the line, what happens? And they'll move it by subdivision, by voting precinct, and the magic numbers show up. You get your deviations, and you get your percentage of each of the voting blocks, each minority, Black, Hispanic, non-English, and white. And so you see it in real time. It's pretty fascinating. Once you get all that done, then the committee will come up with a plan that they recommend for city council. There will be a public hearing in which there's a workshop and then a public hearing in which you receive input. There's also going to be an opportunity for the citizens to submit a plan. And so we're going to have a couple resolutions. So this is the list of the redistricting guidelines that are required by federal law. You want districts of equal population. I said less than 10% deviation in the population. You try to follow identifiable geographical boundaries such as the Brazos River, 59, Highway 6, and 90. That's not always possible, but you try to have as identifiable as possible so the map looks pretty. You try to maintain communities of interest, follow county voting precinct lines when possible. Although that's a federal guideline, it doesn't necessarily apply to us because we do have citywide voting. And so it makes it a little bit easier if you do, in fact, have to split a precinct to get your numbers. You would like your districts to be compact and include contiguous territory. You want to preserve the current person in that district. The city has historically made wonderful strides and has kept every sitting council member who's eligible for re-election in their same district. You continue the representation of the people who have elected them at that time. That's included in your resolution. That's very important to go forward. And you want to preserve the minority voting impact. You do not want to do a gerrymandering situation where you either dilute one group or overwhelm one district and nobody else has that same, and so you only have the voters have that one opportunity. So there's this, a second resolution will be the guidelines for the public submission of redistricting plans. These must be in writing, must include the entire city. You cannot say, this is how I want my district to look, or the district next to me. You've got to include all four. We need the district numbers to include the population and the minority population figures. And it must conform to the guidelines, which are in the resolution that we also passed right before this one. And we will be determining the deadline for submission to City Council. I'm going to recommend that your deadline be set for the workshop in August, the same deadline that the committee is going to submit their plans, so that you have both plans or multiple plans in front of you at the same time, so that everybody gets a fair opportunity for discussion. So there's several different ways you can do redistricting. You can appoint a committee. It's development of one or more plans using the guidelines. That's the resolution you're going to pass. And then you're going to send the plan to City Council for the vote on the final plan after the public hearing. Historically, you've had 7 members on this panel. That would be, I've only gone back 22 years, or 25 years. So in 1998, you had 7. 2002, 2011, and 2018. There were 7 plus 2018 added an additional 2. So historically, each one of you gets to nominate one person from your district. For 2018, the IG committee recommended adding additional 2 members, and there were 2 sitting council members who are not eligible for re-election. I spoke with the IG committee just a few weeks ago. They've agreed that 9 members is also the way to go, but their recommendation this time is to have 2 former council members, so that you have the experience on the committee of being through the redistricting process. If for some reason you don't happen to like that recommendation, you could follow any other variation that you like. However, I would recommend going with a 7 or 9, because historically it has been very effective. So there's the IG recommendation. Each council member nominates 1 member. Each at-large nominates 1 member. The mayor selects the 4 council members, and the mayor then selects the chair out of the 9. So this is our proposed schedule. I would like to bring the resolutions forward to you on June 6th. And that resolution would be setting the guidelines, the submission of plans, and appointing of the committee members. June through August, we would like to have the committee meet and develop these plans. August 15th would be the workshop. Would be the filing of the plans. August 22nd would be your workshop. September 5th is your public hearing, first reading. September 19th, second reading. And then the plan would be in effect in 2024. State law does require that the plan be adopted no less than 3 months prior to an election, because there's 108 days for filing, and that allows each person to have the opportunity to file. So I went through that quite quickly. So do you have any questions? If you're concerned about the schedule, I would reassure you not to be too concerned, that both 2011 and 2018, the committees were able to accomplish this in just 3 meetings. And so the computer program is effective, your committee members are determined and dedicated, and this actually goes pretty fast.
Questions? Carol?
Yes. Historically, other than 2018, each member of council has always selected one person to be on the redistricting committee. And 2018 was really an extreme redistricting, because literally overnight, based on the numbers we had, we increased the population 34%. And it was huge. And it was such a massive redistricting that it was essentially like an open canvas. And there were so many different ways, even with all the requirements, there were so many different ways it could go. So I think it was good to have the extra people that time. But now this is going to be pretty straightforward. You know, if you average districts 1 and 2 together, you're at 25.4%. If you average districts 3 and 4 together, you're at 24.6%. So there's some fairly minor shifts are needed and stuff. So I'm comfortable with just sticking with the 7, but I think it would be, in that scenario, the mayor should certainly appoint a prior council member to serve for his appointment. And I suspect with the 6 council members, at least one of them is going to pick a former council member anyway. And then I definitely think the mayor should, nominate the chair.
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and weigh in. From the 2018, Councilmember, I disagree. I think it's entirely appropriate. I think it's entirely appropriate that 2 former council members serve. We had that from the last time. It was very effective, and it kept, how should I say, it kept things organized, because we had several of the people that were appointed by the council members that were, how should I say, disruptive to the committee. So I think it's entirely appropriate that I nominate 2 former council members. I'm happy to have that discussion with you when we do that nomination, but I'm going to suggest that we stick with the plan that the IGR committee approved, which was 9, the mayor appointing 2, everybody else appointing 1. Question?
Mayor, since I wasn't here and Carol just made a comment that most city council members will pick a former city council member, can Meredith, maybe you can send us the makeup for 2018 so we know who was on?
I have it right in front of me.
Oh,
I
okay.
knew
Go
that
ahead,
question was going to come up. Do you want to know who each person appointed? So the mayor appointed Louis Manuel. Councilmember Porter appointed Tina Gibson. Councilwoman Young appointed Randy Garbs, who the mayor appointed as the chair. Councilwoman Mitchell appointed Russell Jones. Councilwoman McCutcheon appointed Sapana Patel. Councilmember Gandhi appointed Apurva Parikh. And Councilmember Lane appointed Dr. Mary Harrell. So one person did appoint, Councilmember Mitchell did appoint a former council member, but no one else elected to do that.
And the 2 former council members were Ramesh Gandhi and Bridget Young.
Those were the 2 council members that were not eligible.
Yeah, that were not eligible to vote, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yes. Any other comments? Go ahead and bring it back to us based on the IGR committee recommendation, please.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Item number 8, City Council City Manager reports. 8A, City Council Member reports. Stuart, let's start with you.
Thanks, Mayor. The only thing I heard Meredith say was that District 3 was just about perfect. I stopped listening after that. On Saturday, Nishad and I attended the grand opening of the AFC Urgent Care in District 3, and it looks like a great facility, and they gave us free vitamin B12 shots, and we've been bouncing off the ceiling ever since. Also, the Fort Bend Chamber of Commerce held a reception for the principals, school principals in Fort Bend ISD, Lamar Consolidated, and Stafford, and that was a great event, and I was glad to attend on behalf of council.
Thank you, Stuart. Jennifer?
I attended a couple of days with the Fort Bend Leadership Forum. We wrapped up our program, and I had a great Mother's Day.
Thank you, Jennifer. William?
Well, Mayor, as you probably know, the May 6th and 7th, the second annual Sugarland Bicycle event occurred at our Brazos River Park, and I cannot thank the city staff enough for pulling this off. And the reason is I believe that our community is better when we engage in outdoor activities with our friends and our families, our neighbors, our kids. And guys, those of you that did not attend this thing, it was beautiful. We got to see the future of our city, these little bitty kids that were all in and having a ball. And Mayor, we had more than 700 riders, which is the largest cycling event in the state of Texas, and it occurred right down the street, and it only happened because of great volunteers and our hard work from our city staff. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, William. Carol?
Well, one of the biggest things was the Go Ape ribbon cutting ceremony. And then Suzanne, Nishad, William, and I did go ape, and we made it on the 1,000-foot zip line, which was really exciting. It's the longest Go Ape zip line in the entire country. So that's just a super addition to our city. And Nishad and I attended a really great event at UH, and Andy and Barbara Gessner of the Gessner Road family donated $20 million for an endowment at the College of Nursing there at UH. And that was really, really amazing. And then I attended a Fort Bend Children's Discovery Center, Hats, Gloves, and Boutonnieres Fort Bend brunch. And they had a very successful fundraiser. Thank you.
Nishad?
Thank you, Mayor. Last weekend, Carol, myself, and Suzanne attended the Eid luncheon along with, I didn't see her, Michelle Allen, she's gone. She was there, and Chris Thompson and a few of our officers were also there. Very nice to be at the Smiley Center and attend the Eid luncheon, and the others have been spoken for.
Suzanne?
Thank you, sir. I have a few here. We did, the mayor and I went to the Freedom Shrine. The Exchange Club presented a Freedom Shrine to Lakewood Elementary a couple of weeks ago, which is really a wonderful addition to the school. And I attended the Reigning Strength Therapeutic Horsemanship Gala a couple of weeks ago. And Saturday, it rained and it rained and it rained. It was the busiest day I think I've ever had. I had 3 events. We had the Sugarland Sharks, 50 years. That pool has been there, and they have been together 50 years. So congratulations, Sugarland Sharks. That was amazing. And then I headed over to Bel Air. Rashmi Sharma was presented a proclamation for her outstanding service of Asians against domestic abuse. She did a great job. So we had to recognize her. And then my husband had to fill in with the mayor and his wife in my absence for the ball game. So thank you, Brad. You did a great job, I heard.
Well, and Suzanne, I was going to recognize Brad Watley, because Brad did a great job. We entertained Yokogawa. Brad stepped up, sat at the table, entertained everybody. Suzanne, you may have some competition. I mean, they loved him. They loved him. The second thing I'd like to say is Nancy and I attended last night the funeral for Deacon Jones. For those of you that don't know, Deacon Jones was the one that got with Mayor Thompson, and they were the ones that discussed with Peter Kirk bringing a minor league baseball stadium, opening day partners, here to Sugar Land. And they had a great honor for him last night. Mayor Thompson spoke. They had several people that spoke on behalf of Deacon. The thing that I'll tell you that I remember him being in our suite. I could hear him coming down the hall. His voice carried. And when he held court, he could tell stories like nobody else. And we would have companies in there sitting around the table. Nobody would be watching the baseball game. They'd all be in there listening to him talk about stories of playing professional baseball back at a time when segregation was the name of the game. So, you know, we're going to honor Deke, as they called him, Pop, as other people called him, at a future event with a proclamation. But it was a great loss. I think it happened on Saturday. And his wife, his daughter, his grandkids were there last night, and I thought it was a great celebration of life for Deacon Jones. Mike, item number B, city manager report.
No report, Mayor.
This time we're going to move to item number 9, closed executive session. 9A, closed executive session is authored by Chapter 551 Texas Government Code in accordance with 551071. Consultation with our attorney. That's item A. Item B is closed executive session authorized by 551 Texas Government Code in accordance with Section 551074, personnel matters. At this time, we're going to recess into the council dining room. Thank you all.